uncertainty as to what he believed his entire life. Why would God put uncertainty into a devout, loving Christian?
In it part at least. Because this does go into the dealing of testing of the faith. This would also go in part somewhat to the evidence of miracles. How do we address them? How do we address people's experiences to tell whether they're true or false, or even in the Christian doctrines, whether it's if there is a real prophecy or a real dream or a real supernatural being comes along, how do we know that's even one that's of God or a good being of some sort? So in the same with testing, here God is giving warning: if there arise among you a prophet, and he gives a sign or a wonder, and that sign or wonder comes to pass, it's a true thing. He actually gives a true prophecy, a true miracle, maybe a healing or whatever it is. And then says, let us go and serve other gods, which we have not known, and let us serve them. You shall not hear the words of that prophet or that dreamer. For the Lord your God proves you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. In this respect, you can have a gentleman who comes under a great affliction. Is that affliction going to, as in the story of Job, is it going to be a cause of cursing against God? Or is it going to be, since we've received everything in life, whether it be good, shall we not also receive the evil from the hand of the Lord? So shall we turn and curse him, or shall we bless him? Shall we be thankful for what we do have and be more appreciative for what maybe we took for granted?
Well, those were the questions that Milton had for the rest of his life. It wasn't, I hate God, or, this or that, but it was that indifference, that unknowing, when his entire life had been devoted to praising God for his work, through his writing, through his gift. And that gift is taken away because he's gone blind.
And on Christianity, in this particular situation, this is that psychological issue that I was talking about earlier, is that God meets these people in their suffering. If you look at the testimonies of a lot of people in Haiti, that's exactly what happened. God met them. They were there. They looked to God, and he comforted them. And that when they do pass away, they're in the great banquet hall of God's eternal glory. There they are. And the affliction and the suffering, and as bad as it was, is well overcompensated in God's glory.
Can I respond really quick? I just want to remind you of when you were telling me, that I would basically explain away any evidence for God because I basically want to be an atheist or whatever your assumption is. Isn't that exactly what you're doing right now? You're basically, she's asking you, isn't this evidence that God doesn't exist? Something happens which makes me, be pushed away from God. Why would God do that? And instead of admitting, okay, that seems like a little bit of a problem for my belief, why would God allow something to happen that would make someone leave their faith and maybe die an atheist and go to hell? Instead of admitting, okay, that seems like a little bit of a problem for my worldview, you kind of explain it away and saying, no, that's actually just, it proves God is there even more. So good things prove God is there, bad things prove God is there, everything proves God is there to you, okay? So you're just doing the exact same thing that you're accusing me of doing. I feel like you were accusing me of doing by seeing everything as never admitting that God is there no matter what evidence I'm presented with.
Well, I don't think I said that at all. I didn't turn this into an intellectual problem. I was speaking words of counsel. What do people do in this circumstance when they believe in God? They look to God as the great counselor. I'm not arguing for God's existence, and I'm just saying what I would say through the lens, through the eyes of a pastor. I'm not arguing one way or the other in this context.
Okay, I think we can leave that there and move on to the next question.
Hi, I have a question for the theistic side. It's been shown through scientific evidence that the Andromeda galaxy is actually heading towards ours. And there will be a collision within right around 50 to 60 billion years. And it will guaranteed end all life that we are aware of right now, that we are privy to, some design. What argument do you have that tells me that God has fine-tuned this all, even through the strong and the weak forces, when it inevitably is going to end?
Well, see, that's the response the theist can give, is this life isn't all that there is. Design would extend over into purposes that would be in the afterlife as well. And second of all, William Paley, who talked originally about design, gave some good insight into this. Just because For example, if you find a watch, you might infer design. Okay, whether that's good or bad remains to be seen. But what you can say is sometimes the watch works and sometimes it doesn't. Therefore, it's not design. You see, that would be a bad argument to say that because it's not optimally designed, that therefore it's not design. And I find that to be a bad inference.
If the watchmaker was supposed to be perfect, then actually that would be evidence that it wasn't designed by a perfect watchmaker. The analogy again is wrong. Okay, you're saying that everything was designed by a perfect, omnipotent being, so it should be perfect. If you find a watch and it's, doesn't tell time exact or it's just stopped not working, well, yes, there's probably a designer. Would it be a perfect designer? No, it would not be a perfect designer. God probably didn't design that watch if its purpose was to tell time correctly. So it failed. Again, it's a bad analogy.
Well, this is neglecting the Christian doctrine of the fall. In the beginning, when God created all things, they were good and they were perfect.
He knew they were going to fall, right?
And once they did fall, it ceased to be perfect.
But he
so
knew
the
that.
blame, yes, he knew that. But the blame for that does not morally fall against God or anything which he's done in his words. It falls upon the creature.
Go on to the next question.
Okay, it's specifically for Jordan. I wanted you to extrapolate on the God module portion of the brain because it's my understanding that when magnetically stimulated, the sense of someone else present is evoked, and which is also evoked during prayer. However, although it's pointing the God module section of the brain, how does that fit into your schema of what God is, especially when they've done testing and proved that some humans are more susceptible to that stimulation than others? And if that's the case, that's been proven so far, how can God damn those that are not biologically hardwired to accept it?
I am not a neuroscientist. I'm referring to resources which you can use to look that up. I've only seen that they have proven that we are not born atheistic on every single proposition. But to bring, if you'd like the Christian response to that, from a theological perspective, or are you looking for something more biological?
I was just looking for something, the synergy of both. But you just said that it's proving that not everyone, that we are not born atheists. However, if some are less susceptible to this stimulation, then how can you claim that?
The use of atheist that I'm referring to is not specifically referring to any specific belief, whether it be God or morality or just belief about math or physics. It's just atheistic in the general respect of having a belief that he does not exist.
No response from your side? Okay, we'll move on to the next question.
I just want to thank everyone for a great civil talk tonight. It was great.
You're welcome.
We mentioned the problem of theology, which is obviously the existence of evil in what's supposed to be a good world, which is a serious problem for the believers. But it seems like we didn't talk about the main problem for atheists, which is, of course, the existence of everything else. Essentially, my question is, how come there is something from nothing and rather than nothing?
Well, that's an excellent question. Okay, why is there